Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Carson College of Business for our spring semester career networking night. My name is Kaya Phillips, and I'm a junior double majoring in international business and marketing with the minor in hospitality business management. We're so excited to welcome you all here. We are also pleased to announce that over 50 representatives from 30 different organizations are eager to meet you at our career networking night immediately following the panel. Our panel this spring is comprised of representatives from our premium companies, so we'd like to thank them for volunteering their time to answer our questions regarding networking and early career development. Let's give them a round of applause, please. At this time, we would like to have the panel members introduce themselves and their organization, as well as what roles they're recruiting for, starting with Denard.
Hi, my name is Denard Sherman. I'm with Mutual of Omaha. We're looking to fulfill a position for our entry-level financial advisor's position. I'm the recruiting and training manager. The states that we're looking to fulfill is Washington, Idaho, and Alaska.
Hi, I'm Yuliya. I am a Director of Corporate Talent Acquisition with Pyramid Global Hospitality, and we manage over 160 hotels here in the United States and about 230 worldwide. We are recruiting for a leadership development program candidates for graduating seniors, as well as internships for pretty much all the other years.
Hi, I'm Daniel Wilbanks. I'm with Consolidated Electrical Distributors, and I manage a location in Spokane, Washington, and also in Post Falls, Idaho. And we're looking for management trainees to be future managers in the Pacific Northwest or potentially all across the country in one of our 700 locations. And we're also looking for future salespeople.
Hi, my name is Matt. I'm with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'm the group rental manager over all the rental operations in Eastern Washington, Western Idaho, and Northern Oregon. So we're here today looking for management trainees and or interns to go through our management trainee and leadership development program, and really looking to be able to bring in strong customer service-minded folks that have a real passion for leadership to move forward with the company.
Thank you guys so much for sharing about yourselves. We can now start the panel discussion. We will start with some questions first, and then we will take some from the audience. Our first question to kick things off, we would like to put all of our panelists on the spot, starting with Matt. Tell us about a time when networking helped you in your career.
Especially in a global and national type of business where you have, performance gets you promoted, right? Performance will get the results that you want. At a certain level, though, performance starts to even out across the board, and everyone at that level is elite performers, right? So I've had the luxury of being able to work in Milwaukee, Baton Rouge, and now Washington with Enterprise. And a lot of the networking comes from some of that internal conversations with different employees across the company, different leaders, different mentors. So really going out and finding people and being the best partner you can to people in other departments of the business, maybe not something that directly impacts you. I've had all those people reach out on my behalf as I've gone and applied for different opportunities around the country. So I think really broadening your scope outside of your direct leadership is a huge plus on the networking side of things.
So I think networking definitely will help you in your business down the road, but as you're a college student, even in discovering what you want to do with your degree in your career. I know when I was in school, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I was able to go spend time with my dentist and a pharmacist and different fields and just follow them for half a day and just try to understand what that job really looked like before I spent time and money on an education that really wouldn't be something I'd want to do for a career.
I'm going to share a personal story for this question. So I've been working in a professional environment for 23 years, and I worked with Marriott, Hyatt, hotels, with Hilton's as well. And out of all the jobs that I've had throughout all of the years, there's only one job that I got when I did not rely on my network to get the job. So let that sink in, my friends. 23 years, and there's only one job when I didn't rely on my network. So obviously with what the gentleman already said, there's a network value for your career advancement and my example here as well. But I'm going to challenge you to network with your professors as well, because that's where your investment is going to pay off immediately, because your professors are the ones that know the folks and companies in the field, and they're the ones that can actually make recommendations for you when you're looking for that job, or also when a company is looking for leadership development program candidates, so entry-level management candidates. They're going to go to your professors and they're going to say, who do I need to talk to? So I would encourage for you to network not only with all of us here tonight, but also with your professors and with your colleagues, with your co-students, because this room right here is going to be your networking place in 5-10 years.
And I'll add to that too. You got to think about, you're in the field, you need to build relationships, not just with individuals in your same profession, but other professions, right? If you're building a referral base, you're not just looking to get referrals, but you're also looking to pass off referrals, because eventually in the end you want to grow your business, whether you want to be self-employed or whether you work for a company. So, for being at Mutual of Omaha, an entry-level financial advisor's position, we're in the industry of building those relationships, creating, going to networking events, going to referral events. And so doing so, you have to prepare yourself, do your homework, right? Know your audience, right? And then have expectations. That's going to help you network and get whatever you want out of networking with other individuals with different professions. For me, I had an experience where I wasn't prepared. I went into a networking event not knowing what a 1-minute elevator speech is, and I don't know if everyone ever heard that expression before, but a 1-minute elevator speech, take the time when you get on the elevator and someone is on the elevator and they're going to the next floor, and you want to introduce yourself. You have that amount of time to make an impact or an impression on that person, to have them see value in you and call you back. So I would highly recommend, know your audience, do your homework, and network with individuals that you can see yourself growing with and being a better person.
Thank you, guys. Now I have a question for each of you. This time we'll start with Daniel. Daniel, in a university where hundreds of students are graduating with my major, how do I stand out?
That's a great question. I think the way you stand out is think about what you want, who you are. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be real, be comfortable in your own skin. I've had a lot of instances where a student will come up and I ask about their major, and then I say, why are you taking that? What do you want to do? And they have no idea. And it's okay to not know exactly what your career is going to be, but if you're not excited about what you're doing, an employer is not going to be excited about wanting to have you join their team and invest time, money, and energy in developing you. So I think it's really do some homework about what you want, what your interests are, do internships, shadow other leaders to determine what you really want, and then be prepared in a network night or a career fair to talk about why you're taking the major you are and what you see yourself doing, what your skills are, and be real about it. I really hate to hear the expression, I'm just keeping my options open. To me, that sounds like I really have no clue, I'm just looking for a job. And we're all here to look for people that kind of know what they want to do, or at least have some idea of what value they can bring to a company.
Thank you, Daniel. Yuliya, how did you get your first job and or internship?
So my first job and my first internship, I both got both of those opportunities through a referral from my professor, which is why I was mentioning that to you guys. So my first job out of college was with a local hotel company, and I'm from Florida. I'm still in Florida, so it's very far and very cold here. But my first job out of college was for a local hotel, and I saw an opportunity, and I really did not want to move at that point in my life. And I spoke to the academic advisor, the career advisor, about the job, and he told me a little bit more about the hotel company. And I had no idea, but he also had called and spoke to the employment manager back at that hotel and recommended that the employment manager speaks to me. And the one thing about networking, one thing that you guys need to keep in mind is that having a vast network or having these contacts, that's not actually going to land you a job. You're going to do that. But having that contact and having that person that you can refer to or ask questions, or they can put your name in the hat, they will just give you that little that little opportunity to push you forward, and then it's going to be up to you. So when you build your network, keep that in mind, that just because you know all of the people, you still have to put in the work. You still have to do really well in the interview. You still have to present the value that you bring into the company, and kind of go through all of those motions of the interview process. But having that vast network, having that just one little oomph in the beginning can go a really long way.
Thank you. Denard, to what extent is dressing professionally important? Does it make an impact?
It definitely does, right? You want to dress to impress, right? You don't want to be somebody that you're not, but just think about when you're sitting in an interview, how many others have sat in that same chair before you? What do they look like? How do they dress? How do they appear? And remember that you want to make the last impression. So that person that you're sitting down doing the interview with, there's somebody that I have to answer to. So when my boss asks me, what do you like about this gentleman? What do you like about this young lady? I'm going to sit there and say, oh, he was dressed very, very sharp. He asked questions. He was engaged, right? He was just as much interviewing me as I was interviewing you. So your appearance does make a big difference, as opposed to someone who comes in with, if you're interviewing for a financial job, be an advisor, right? You're in there with a T-shirt. More than likely, I'm probably not going to pick you over someone who's wearing a suit and tie, right? When you're thinking about the profession that you're pursuing, if you're going to be sitting down with tons of people, you want to look professional. If you're sitting down and you're working and by all means, I'm not putting this down, but if you're sitting there and you're a mechanic, then obviously you're wearing a uniform, right? And so really do your homework, right? And research the people that you're going to do an interview with. Search me out, look me up on LinkedIn, see what I look like, see who I know, right? And then say, okay, this guy is sharp, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna look just as sharp as well. And so just really know the company that you're gonna do an interview with, really dress for success. Persian says, but fake it till you make it, right?
Thank you, Denard. Matt, what are some tricks to help you overcome the fear of networking?
It's a little bit cliche, but you always have to make sure that you are putting yourself in every possible position to get as much exposure as possible to that, right? If you do not practice what we're talking about and practice going out and connecting with people, you're always going to internalize what that looks like, and you're never really going to be overcome that. So number one is put yourself in a position to be available, right? Expose yourself to that. Number two, to kind of double down on what he was speaking about earlier, you have to be genuine and you have to be yourself. As scary as talking to someone you don't know can be, and as intimidating as going up to someone to try to connect with them can be, it's even more so if you're trying to connect with them while trying to be somebody that you're not, right? We talk about it in interviews all the time. One of the first things I say to a candidate is, I don't want you to give me the cookie cutter responses, loosen up your tie, relax. I just want to have a conversation. I want to get to know who you are as a person, because the reality is that, a lot of us are we're looking for management trainees, right? It's our job to develop some of the skills that we're looking for, but we can't provide the intangibles, right? So be genuine, be yourself, present who you are, because it's going to be a lot easier down the road.
Thank you guys so much. Now we would like to open the discussion for questions from the audience. Please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to come to you. Any questions?
Hello. So when you guys are hiring for entry-level positions, let's say, for example, it's a marketing position, do you think it's more important for if they have an internship to be at a marketing firm, or does the company matter as long as it's within that same industry? So if it's like a marketing internship at an engineering company versus an actual marketing firm, do you guys have any preference when hiring? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's going to benefit you in terms of having an internship in that field that you're pursuing, because it's just going to make, just sharpen your knife, right? And also in that internship, I've looked for, I don't want to do just the grunt work as an intern. I want to see what everyone is doing to make sure I like the line of work that I'm getting engaged in, right? And so I think it's to your benefit to do an internship prior to, and then I think, in the long run, it's going to be beneficial for you.
Thank you.
Hi. I was curious, how many internships on a resume is too many? Is there ever a point when it seems like you need to be in a more permanent position on your resume, or if you haven't had a full-time job at this point, or haven't had a more direct path or been in a more management upper level position, how many internships can you have on your resume before it kind of seems like, why haven't they stayed with the company, or why haven't they transitioned into something higher?
I think it's important to have a purpose for every internship, and as long as you can articulate what you learned and why you took that and why you took the next one, I don't know if I'd put a number on it. You know, a dozen's probably way too many. But, you know, if you had 3, maybe that's right, maybe 4, maybe 2. The internship has a purpose to prepare you for a career.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, as we're specifically, I'm speaking for myself, looking at entry level roles. I really don't. I don't think there's a number where it's too many or too little, realistically, because you're looking to further your knowledge and your education, right? Coming in here again at an entry level role, it's our job to teach you the skills for our specific company. But having an internship, having a couple internships, showing that you're passionate and that you're driven to find that success and to find that path, even if they are different from each other, that kind of just goes to show what we've been talking about a little bit already today. Whereas, you know, have a purpose, right? Have a plan, and I think that helps to accentuate that.
I'm going to jump in on that. I'm going to kind of cover both of your questions here. I think anytime when you guys ask questions, like the questions that both of you have asked, the answer is going to be, it depends. Because at the end of the day, it's really going to be what you're bringing to the table. If you are a candidate that did the homework, shows up, and you reached out to the recruiter on LinkedIn before, and you come prepared, you know about the company, you ask questions, we don't care how many interns were there, or if they were at a marketing company, or if they were at an engineering company. At the end of the day, it all goes back to the value that you bringing to the interview. And if you can articulate the purpose behind what you were doing and what you were achieving, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's going to go back to your natural talent. And somebody else mentioned that earlier today too. We're here to develop talent, so we don't expect for you to come in and be ready to be a general manager tomorrow. We understand that you have very good bones, you have the education, you have the internships, but we're going to need to invest time into developing maybe soft skills or leadership skills, so things that you haven't been exposed to. So I think at the end of the day, if you do your networking, you prepare, the content is not nearly as important as the value that you're going to be able to portray in the interview, in the conversation.
And I'll add to that too, for our perspective. When I'm looking at an individual who's done multiple internships, I'm asking about each internship. What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you learn, right? And so I think that's a benefit to you in terms of finding out where you fit in, what culture, what company. And so, no, I think that's excellent. I think that's awesome.
Especially, do you guys have 2 soft skills that you guys like are your favorites on resumes?
Can you ask that question one more time, please?
For like sales and management positions you guys are hiring for, do you guys have 2 or 3 soft skills that are like the most important for you guys to see on resumes?
I'd say I don't care as much about what's on your resume. It's more about what you portray. And you can show us those soft skills in a conversation.
I was going to say confidence, being able to come in, because you're selling yourself, right? So if you're applying for a sales position, your very first sale is your interview. So being able to come in and be confident and talk about the value that you're going to bring in, that's probably more important. That's what's going to be written down.
And then for me, working in a customer service and team-based business, for me, it would be all about communication. If you can accentuate yourself, if you can bring a point clearly, you're not talking in circles, being clear, concise, concrete, that's one of the most important things I'd be looking for through the interview process.
I would say, how much are you interviewing me in the interview, right? That's what I look for. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me is that if I'm doing all the talking, there's something wrong, right? I think that the conversation should be shared 50-50.
I seen one hand, and then 2 over here.
Hi. So you talked about the process of how it's important to know where you're going, at least have a general idea when you sit for an interview. And I'm in that process right now. So what tools can you talk about where I can explore in my field, which is finance, and figure out where I want to be? especially when I'm sitting in front of an interviewer, and have an answer that.
I would say to your benefit, and I do this in my interviews, I suggest going on other interviews, like companies like compared to Mutual of Omaha, like Mass Mutual, New York Life, not because we don't want you, but I want you to, know what you're getting into, right? I'm not just trying to paint a picture and entice you and tell you wonderful things, how great you can be. I want you to do your due diligence and go and compare. What makes us different from our competitors, right? What makes our culture different? Where do you see yourself? And so I would encourage you to go on multiple interviews.
We have a question over here.
Hello, my name is Ali Al-Bakshi, and I had a more personal question to you guys. How do you guys define success?
How do you define success?
Me?
I define success as being able to change people's lives, just being able to give back while just growing. I see success as I see money as a byproduct of success, so I feel like a lot of people are way too worried about their money first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think that a lot of people lack. So I think that if people focus on becoming successful, changing lives, working hard, I think that's how you define success.
I think each and every one have our own levels of expectation and success, right? For an example, how can you make an impact? That may be your level of success. And so it's in each and every one of you. My success can't be your success. I can't want you to be here if your desire is not to be here, right? And so I often tell my managers, if you care about your agent's career more than your agent's, then you got to take a look at where they want to be successful-wise.
Yeah, I'd add to that. I think early on in my career, like a lot of college students when they graduate, it's about making more money, climbing a ladder, getting into another position, and that's fun, and that's what drives you. But I'd say as I've matured more in my career, I get just as much joy. I still want to win. I still want to make money, right? But it's seeing younger people come in and them find success and me helping them with that success, or seeing customers and clients that we are able to assist and they become successful. It's just so rewarding, more so than just for myself.
And I guess for me with that, in a management role, in a leadership and development role, the ultimate form of success for me is if I want, selfishly, I want to win and I want to compete at all levels. But even more so important than that is if I leave and if I go to the next position and move on, my team has equal or better success because they've learned, they've been able to develop their skills, and then they've been able to incorporate it their own. So that's huge for me.
I'm going to echo the response that definition of success changes with your life and where you are in life. So when you get out of college, when I got out of college, it was very much, what's my next position? Where can I go? Title was probably more important than what it is now. And then now, I think success for me goes as much outside of work as it is at work, because with where I am in my life now, I want to have a job where I'm impactful, where I'm leading a team, where my team is successful, where I'm watching them grow. But at the same time, I also want to work to live. So I want to be able to have a work-life balance. I'm a mom, I have kids, so I want to have a job where I'm impactful at work, but I also can be impactful at home. I'm a marathoner, I'm a half Ironman, I am all into fitness too, so success for me is being able to do all of those things. So I think success now to me looks very different. But I'm going to echo that success is going to look different to every single one of you. And that's the beauty of working with different individuals, because everybody's got different goals and how to achieve them. But I think as you grow in your career, it's going to change. And that's okay, because your environment is going to change, and where you're in your life is going to change too.
I also had a follow-up question. What's your biggest regret?
Biggest regret? I have one. I actually have one ready to go. And it's super, it's the only regret I have in life. And that's why it's ready to go, because it truly is the only regret. And it's very relevant to all of you guys, so I'm going to share that. Usually, I don't look at the way life turns out as regrets because I really feel like to be where I am now, I had to go through that. And it taught me something, so I really look at life as lessons. But if there's one thing that I would do differently, and again, it's not really a regret because then I wouldn't be where I am today. But when I was graduating from college, I had an opportunity to work for a high corporate office in Chicago, and I went to school in Florida at the University of Central Florida. And I moved here to the U.S. when I was a senior in high school. My parents were immigrants. And when I was graduating high school, my mom was dead set on me not going anywhere else. And she locked herself in the bedroom until I declined that job and took a job that ultimately ended up with helping me with my whole career. I wouldn't be here if I didn't take that job. So again, not really a regret, but that was the one time in my life when I could have picked up and gone to Chicago and experienced something completely different. So now is the time to move and go to another country, work in Europe. There are global companies that will take you there. Go work on a cruise ship if you don't know what to do, because what a great opportunity. You're probably not gonna have, another point in your life where you can just pick up and go work on a cruise ship. So if there's one thing I would have done differently, it probably would be that. But again, I wouldn't be here today if I did that. But you guys had a, perfect time to experience life and move around and try different things.
Hi. My question is, what process have you gone through to find your personal values as a person in the business world, and how do you let people know those values without sounding too cheesy or too fake by saying like you value communication, teamwork, all that kind of stuff?
It's going to sound cheesy because some of my personal values are having great communication, building a great culture, and practicing a lot of consistency. But, sometimes, in my personal opinion, and sometimes things are cheesy, right? Sometimes things are important to us that might be a little bit cliched. It's not about how you can communicate that. It's not about how you talk about it. It's how you are able to live it and how you show that it is going to impact those around you, right? It is going to be impossible for you to find the success that you want if the others around you and the team with you doesn't share your vision and isn't believing in the same goal. And you're not going to be able to be successful. So be cheesy if you need to, right? But if it's things you actually believe in and if it's the values you actually hold to, then the team that you surround yourself with has to share that message.
Yeah, I totally agree. You have to be able to make an impact. That's where you can measure your own success, right? If you're working for a company, whether you're a business owner and you're training individuals or you're in a meeting and everyone's listening to what you have to say, you're making an impact. And when you're seeing the results from those, what you're contributing goes a long ways, right? And then that's how you move up in the company, right? What can you contribute in a positive way to where it impact overall performance of, whatever industry or profession you're looking to pursue?
Yeah, I think you have to live out those values because you can say, believe in teamwork. And then as a leader, if you go make all the decisions and don't involve the team, you're not really living that out, and the team will see through it.
I would say it's going to be trial and error for you too. And I would look inwards for those values to really identify what resonates with you. So I would do a lot of self-reflection, and even you can do that at school. But if you are in a situation where, I don't know, you talk about communication. So you're in a situation where you really felt like that situation was impactful because of communication, then you can walk away saying, okay, that's what was important to me. But I think that's part of being comfortable in your skin and growing as a leader and growing at work, but just really looking inward and reflecting what resonates with you and being true to yourself, because that takes time, and that's a lot of work to really kind of look inward and say, this is what's important to me and I'm going to be true to myself.
And another thing you do is lead by example, right? Set those expectations and hold yourself accountable.
So kind of going off of that, how you define success question. When he asked you, one of the first things you did was turn it back around and ask him, how does he define success? How would you say that plays in a job interview? When the interviewer asks you one of those open-ended questions where there's kind of never one right answer, how do you feel if the interviewee kind of turns that back around at you and asks you as well?
Well, you have to ask, where do you see yourself down the road? What career path, right? Often a lot of people stay in their career because they make a lot of money, but they don't like doing what they're doing, but they do it because they make a lot of money. I stay in my career because I love the culture, I love the people that I'm around. I could probably go somewhere and make some more money somewhere elsewhere, but I choose to stay where I'm at because of my contribution to my company. To me, that's being successful. I'm making an impact on the company. I'm making an impact on hiring young future entry-level financial advisors. So for me, that's my own measurement of success. And where do I see myself as far as growing within the company? I can really go as far as I want it to go. And so I'm going to ask you those type of questions. Where do you see yourself 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road? Whether you want to be married, buy a house, raise children, run your own company, be a CEO, and we're going to help you get there. We're going to help you achieve those things.
Was your question about the tactic of turning around the question to the interviewer? I think it really depends on the question. Some things that might kind of turn me off to the candidate because it would almost seem like they're avoiding the question. So I think you answer the question, and then if it's appropriate, maybe, so how about you? But answer the question first.
Yeah, thank you.
The one question that I see turn around the most during the interview is a salary question. If I ask the candidate what is the salary expectation that you have for this role, that's probably one question where the candidate turns it around most often, and they say, well, what does it pay? But for all the other questions, typically I would second what Daniel just said.
Just a general question, like any tips or suggestions you guys would give for like an ideal resume to get your your foot in the door for the first interview?
The basic things like don't leave huge gaps, and if you have gaps, be prepared to talk about them. Don't put a bunch of fluff. Put what you really did, your education, your work experience, your internships, any social organizations you were in, things like that matter. But I see a lot of fluff where it's like people just Google keywords and they just pepper the whole resume with keywords.
Right.
That doesn't do much for us.
Yeah.
Also, spell check is your friend.
I can't speak from experience of like pulling the resume and getting it noticed, but through the final interview process and looking at a resume, some of the things that turn me off the quickest is the 3 to 5 page deals where you're going through everything. Keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it relevant, and to hit the points previously, be prepared to talk about it. Because if it's on your resume, we're going to ask you about it. I want to know details, and I want to be able to see some actual experience and show that, especially with the length of time in certain positions. Like I want you to show that you're consistent, right? I want you to show that you're dedicated to improving and being the best you can in whatever role that it is. So having the 6, 3 or 4 month different roles is going to be difficult.
Right.
And you should know your story better than anybody. So you should be able to talk about it without having to read your resume if it really happened, right?
Good afternoon. My name is Ayana Medeles. And from personal experience, my parents are small business owners, and I've seen that the sacrifice and hardships that they've had to face is time. They don't have time for their families. What would you say for an intern or an entry-level job position? What are some hardships or sacrifices that they have to make?
I think time will always be one of them. I think as a whole, and especially at a lot of corporations, we're making a lot of strides to really living out that work-life balance, right, and being more in tune with what our entry-level people are looking for. But I don't think there's any beating around the bush that you will have to sacrifice time at some points, right, if you want to be successful in what you're looking to do.
I would also say don't be afraid to put in hard work, because sometimes it's hard to find an individual that's really prepared to put their head down. Anytime when you work, you're going to have very busy times, and then you're going to have very slow times. So your ability to kind of buckle down under pressure and get through the busy time, knowing that it's not going to last forever. It's only a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And if it is a company where it's lasting forever, that's, you know, that's a sign on the wall for you to really evaluate if this is aligned with your values. But be prepared to put on hard work. And also when it is slow, I have noticed that with college graduates that sometimes I think it's just they don't know to say, what else can I do? I need more work. So don't be afraid to raise your hand if it's slow times and say, I can do more, or I can learn something, or what else can I do?
And one final thing to touch on with that, you know, a lot of us up here are recruiting for these entry-level roles. You don't get to the position you're looking for, right, by giving an entry-level role 2 or 3 months and saying, hey, this isn't for me, I'm out, right? So putting in that time, that hard work, that dedication through that entry-level program and getting to the point where you can actually see the results of your hard work, right? Because a couple of us talked about management trainee programs. We don't hire people to be management trainees, right? We hire people to be able to go ahead and delete the trainee off that, right? So really be prepared for that and know the timeline that you're looking to get into as well, because that's going to be important and help you kind of reset yourself with what your goals are.
All right, we probably have time for about one more question.
Yeah, what are some of the ways that a younger candidate can stand out in the interview process compared to someone with like more experience in that position?
I would say by you doing your research prior to the interview, getting to know the person who's actually, you know, presenting and hosting the interview. As I tell all my candidates, you're interviewing me just as much as I'm interviewing you. And so if you come in there and then, again, if I'm doing all the talking and, you know, and I have any questions, anything to add, and you're like, no, you know, that's kind of a no-no. So I would say be engaged, do your homework, and just ask many questions because this is your career, right? So you're interviewing, you know, that individual in that career path.
I think for me, when I look at that, I would look at the intangible side of the interviews. A lot of times it is not the candidate with the most experience in my mind, but it's the one that can present the confidence and really sell themselves through the interview process and a lot of the things that are intangible and don't show up on a resume and experience side, being able to talk about their leadership experience, what drives them, what they're passionate about, what motivates them. You know, experience is great, and it will certainly help you out a lot, especially as you're going for specialties roles. But, you know, with entry-level spots, you know, talk about the stuff that makes you unique from everybody else.
So I want to add to that. We talked about values a little while ago. So my biggest value is be real. I always say I'm too old to not be real anymore. So if I have a candidate who is applying for an entry-level position and they come to the interview and they say, hey, I know I don't have a lot of experience, but here's what I have. I am eager to learn. I just got my degree. I want to work hard. And I'm here so that you can really develop me into a perfect candidate for this position. And I'm not saying that's the right answer, but somebody that understands what they're good at and somebody that can present that and be real and true to themselves, that really goes a long way for me.
All right, I'm so sorry, guys. We're out of time for our panel discussion, but we are so grateful to the panelists for their valuable input. While our Assistant Director, Michelle Chapman, comes to the stage for some final remarks, please give our panelists another round of applause. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so first of all, again, thank you so much. How many of you in the room actually have those tidbits of knowledge that you're going to take with you when you leave? Yeah. So all of these events, even if you only take 1 or 2 things away, it's a success. And sometimes that measurement of success, so now you have your positive thing for this week. Oh, you. Okay, so the next part of the evening is the networking event. And so make sure that if you are headed to the networking event, you now kind of have some things that you can think about as you communicate and be authentic and be yourselves. One of the things that we also had talked about was dress. And if you are planning on going to the networking event, we do want you to have as professional dress as you are able to. And so we will, but know that if you don't feel completely ready right now and you have something that you might be able to put on, this event goes all the way till 7:30, you guys. So you do have time to go home if you wanted to do some practice or you wanted to think through some things. Take that moment to do so because it's an investment in you and your future, and so it's worth it. Talk to the representatives and learn more about their company. Hopefully, a lot of you have also done your homework on these companies as well to prepare yourselves so that you can have an even more in-depth conversation. There is going to be food, so it's catered. And make sure that you check in to the event. When you exit here, we will have on the screens the amplifier QR code. So remember that if you open up your Suitable app, go to the event, click the QR code scan, it will be really easy as you walk out to be able to scan that very quickly. And then you will go over and you will check in for the next event, so the networking event. And that's when they will give you your name tags so that you guys can have that conversation of knowing. If the person is busy that you're hoping to talk to, remember that networking, you are all the future business professionals of the world. Use that time to talk to the people that you're around in addition to our employers. And with that, good luck. I want to make sure that I covered everything they told me to, and I did. So good luck. Go for it. You don't have anything to lose here. Try.